Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about a game that I know you aren't playing, and if you are a Metroidvania fan, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, and that is Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. Now, that is obviously a mouthful, but it is based on a classic anime, and, you know, when I say classic anime, I don't mean like when I was a kid, like Trigun or Outlaw Star. I mean like 1990 classic anime. This has like that really old school Dungeons and Dragons feel to it, with your team of like the Berserker, the Bard, the Doctor, the Elf, it's that kind of show. I've actually seen it myself. A really good friend of mine actually showed it to me back like when I was living in Texas, and worth a watch. But it's interesting that they have this kind of Castlevania game that's come out since then, because I'm not gonna lie, the one maybe downside I can say about this is you kind of need to know a little bit of the plot. I mean, granted, you will work through it pretty quickly, but it's a lot easier if you've seen the show. That said, this is the best Metroidvania game I have played since Symphony of the Night, and that's not hyperbole. I played some good ones. I mean, hell, Metroid Dread was awesome, but this game, for me, hits like those crazy highs as far as like nostalgia when it comes to like the sprite work, and you know, me talking about it isn't going to do you any favors. Let me show you what the heck this game's all about. The first thing I really want to talk about, because it's the most obvious thing here, and that is the art style. I am a sucker for sprite-based, like that pixelated, really cool art style, and like this is so good. I mean, the character has like a really great model, has the cool after images after everything she does, just like the original Symphony of the Night. It just looks beautiful, really cool. But one thing that stands out to me, and this is something I always really liked about Symphony of the Night, is every single weapon looks different. And you know, it's little stuff like that, you know, I guess it doesn't take much to make me happy, but it's little stuff like that that really makes me happy. And that's before we even talk about like all the mechanics and stuff of the game. Just purely aesthetically, this game looks wonderful. You know, to my recollection, I don't remember any like reused monsters or anything. Pretty sure every single thing has its own sprite, and I may be wrong about that. I have beaten the game, but you know, for the most part, everything was drastically different. Maybe like some animations were used with like different kind of sprites overlaid, but for the most part, everything is different. Everything is its own entity, and it just looks really cool. Going into the plot, it's kind of hard to say if you're gonna like it or not. And I say this based purely on the fact if you watched the show or not. Now, this takes place after the anime, and a lot of the side characters and things are from the anime. A lot of the bosses and stuff are references from the anime. The plot obviously is highly, you know, it's a continuation. So if you haven't done any of that, basically you can just jump into this game with the mindset of you need to Castlevania Symphony of the Night your way through this place to get to the end. But like, if you are a fan of the original show or have seen it, it's going to be really cool for you. You're really going to enjoy the fact that they sprinkled in so many references and things into it, even up to like different kind of side stuff in the game. Like there's a target range type mini game. Of course, there's shops, and the shops are led by the dwarf from the party of the original show. There's a little gambling area that is kind of led by, you know, the rogue of the original show. A lot of really neat callbacks. Once again, if you don't know anything about this show, the series, or the story, you're probably just gonna be like, oh, that's just a neat kind of thing. And this game will more or less just be kind of just a cool adventure for you. That said, you know, without the show, the plot does seem kind of generic. With the show, it kind of is a neat continuation. So I'm kind of half and half on if I think the story's good or not. Like me personally, I think it was cool because I've seen the show. But like, as far as recommending this to someone, depending on if you have or haven't, then it could just be a generic thing for you, or it could be something great. So with that out of the way, what is the gameplay like? Well, very simple. It is your classic Metroid, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Metroidvania, whatever you want to call it, game, right? They have the same things we're all used to. A level up system, secret walls with cracks in them that you can break to find more items or spells or health upgrades or magic upgrades. They also have, your map. Like, this map is, the definition of a Metroidvania is this map.
Where as you go, you collect more secrets. There's all kind of progression through items and beating bosses. In this game, the main kind of point of progression is abilities and special doors. Like you'll see a red door, and you can't open the red doors until you unlock the red switch. And then I say abilities because like later on, you know, you won't be able to get through. Maybe there's something too high to jump, so you have to get like a double jump. Or maybe like a slide to get into a smaller area, or maybe breathing underwater, all sorts of different stuff. So yeah, like when it comes down to it, Metroidvania through and through. There is, just like Symphony of the Night, or, you know, maybe Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, certain monsters, I won't say all of them, but certain monsters, a good deal of them, do drop weapons. And like I said earlier, I like the fact that the weapons all have their own sprite. There's two major kind of weapons, basically melee and then the bows. The bows, some of them do good damage, especially later in the game, but bows are one of those things that I didn't end up using much, as it uses your magic meter, and there are much better uses later on for spells, trust me, than using your bow. However, the bow is very, very tactfully used for puzzle solving. Like, check this puzzle out here, where you basically have to hit these gears to raise these gates, but they have these magnets, so you kind of have to bend the arrows. Like, it reminds me of War of Arrows, if you ever saw that movie. Pretty cool. But instead of like just straight skill using magnets. But the bows are kind of mainly used for puzzles or certain enemies where you have to like reflect arrows off of walls and stuff. And so basically, and then the melee weapons, and they kind of did something like Symphony of the Night, where there are a couple melee weapons in the game. I think there's 3, maybe more, that are basically like a throwing star, which you know would return to you like a boomerang or something, chakram. So those are kind of neat too. You know, some of the best weapons though do come from enemies rather than specific locations or whatever. That said, the weapons have 2 main stats, basically speed and then attack. And this is one of those things that, you know, you can really math craft your way into some high DPS. I do know the strongest sword in the game is very hard to get, but technically is not as good as a sword you get from one of the last enemies of the game as a rare drop, only because that sword that you get from the enemy is like way faster. So in the long run, you end up doing way more damage. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, of course, but just know that, you know, sometimes it's nice to maybe grind out some enemies, not only for level's sake, but also for some of these weapons. But now for what makes this game really different. So there's a bunch of different elements. All the enemies have different elements, of course, and you're usually going to hit most of the elements, weaknesses rather, using magic, like dark magic, light magic, earth magic. But you have 2 innate elements that are like built into your character, and that is a wind spirit and a fire spirit. Now, these are kind of weird. When you have the fire spirit activated, every time you kill an enemy, you gain like these kind of like, it's like temporary experience for the wind spirit, and then vice versa. If you're using the wind spirit, you gain temporary experience to the fire spirit. And what this does is the max level is 3, and when you get to 3, it's like all of your stats are boosted. Like your attack is boosted, your defense is boosted, you do way more damage. However, every time you get hit, it goes down 1 level. So as a for instance, I have fire level 3, I get attacked, I'm now fire level 2, my fire level 2 is weaker than the 3, but as I'm attacking with the fire, I've been leveling up my air, so then I swap back to my air maybe, depending on weakness of the enemy, and kind of repeat the process. Some of them have, so each element also has like a couple of kind of like innate boons. Like, so with air, you can actually hold the jump button and hover, which is cool for floating for some of these arrow puzzles, or just floating over spikes and stuff. And then the fire one just inherently is a little bit more powerful, but also your arrows are like fire arrows. But that's not all. Like, if that was it, that'd be kind of cool, kind of a weird mechanic. But no, then this takes on like, I can only explain it as an Ikaruga kind of thing. And for those who don't know, Ikaruga is a really, really intense shoot 'em up that has a lot of enemies. It's a bullet hell shooter, but the enemies shoot either black or white bullets. And when you switch your shield to white, you can absorb white. If you switch your shield to black, you can absorb black. That's kind of the same thing here. There are certain enemies that will only take damage, or they'll do attacks that you could absorb with one element or the other. And a really good example of this, this is an early game boss fight, maybe like the second or third boss fight, but it is like the wind and fire spirits, and you have to switch back and forth constantly because the fire guy will do an attack, and you can switch to fire to absorb it, but then you can't hurt him as fire, so you have to switch back to wind to do damage to him, and then vice versa for the wind. It is crazy, and I'll tell you what, as the game progresses, it gets even crazier. It sounds daunting, but you get used to it really quick, and it's really cool. It's like such a cool thing, because when it comes to these kind of games, right, they all kind of improve on each other, and it's hard to say, like, okay, how can you change the formula to make it different, you know? Like Symphony of the Night was like a game changer over Metroid, say, because, you know, you could kill enemies and they would drop specific weapons. Like, that was new. And then later on you had, you know, was Aria of Sorrow, I think, and that one, when you killed certain monsters, you could get their spirits, which was like a whole nother thing on top of weapons. So, like, you know, all these games, they've done these iterative kind of changes, and it's like, how are you gonna make another change, right? What can you do different? And then it's like the developers of this game were just like, you know what? I really like Ikaruga. Boom, we're going to add this. And I tell you what, it absolutely works. So I've obviously been gushing about this game. I will say that I have two major downsides. One, I already talked about, of course, and that is the fact that if you don't know the story of the show, the plot of the game is kind of wasted on you because you're not going to get everything character specific wise. So you're going to kind of see it as more of a generic plot, which is kind of boring. The other downside, and you know, this is one of those things where it's like, it could be a downside, it could be an upside, depending on where you're at in your busy life, but the game is short, and it stinks, because, like, you know, for instance, you play, like, you know, Symphony of the Night, like, the big thing is, holy crap, there's a whole inverted castle, I got a whole second half of the game. This game, I mean, I beat it all the way. I've almost 100%ed it. I didn't go through the motions of unlocking every weapon for the weapon, like the weapon bestiary type thing, only because a lot of them were just buying them from the store and they were weaker than what I had. I didn't want to waste my time grinding money. That said, I have beaten the game's story and gotten all the secrets, 100% map, and I even grinded out some of the cool weapons in less than 10 hours, you know, maybe even less than 8 hours. And, you know, if you're really running through it, not grinding anything, it's pretty damn short, which is a shame because it's great. But like I said, that may not be a downside for you because, you know, what if you're a really busy person? What if you have kids? I don't know. So it's kind of half and half, but, you know, if I were to say two things, the plot's kind of weird without previous knowledge, and it is woefully short. I wish it was longer, but like I said, on the whole, this game is beautiful. I'm gonna keep my eyes out for this developer. I'd never heard of them before, but I'm gonna see what they do in the future, because I tell you what, I don't care if it was a property I don't know. Like, I just happen to know Record of Lodoss War, but if this was something I didn't know, just some completely off the wall IP I had no idea of, I would have had just as much fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to any games these guys make in the future.
So I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the cover originally and I saw like the weird, crazy, long name, it just looked like some kind of like generic, I mean, you know the ones, like the generic Kimco games that you see like a dime a dozen of. But I'm telling you, this game was great, albeit short, but great. I've beaten it 100%. And I'm going to beat it again, especially when my physical copy comes in from PlayAsia. But hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Metroidvania genre? And what do you think about this game in particular? Because I'm telling you, man, it is great. You should definitely check it out. If nothing else, if you have Game Pass, I mean, it's free on there. So, but hey, let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. That would be very cool. We're like crazy close to 4,000 subs. But hey, as always, my friends, take it easy.